Hello students, today we are going to discuss about how to find out the residential status of HUF, that is Hindu Undivided Family, section 6 subsection 2, and we will also discuss how MCQ and one 5-mark question will come in this point. And an HUF can be either a resident or non-resident in India. So here, in case of in HUF, person is resident or non-resident. Again, a resident HUF can further be classified as ordinarily resident and not ordinarily resident. That is, that way it can be classified. So here two classification is given. He may be considered as resident and he may be resident but not ordinarily resident in India. Now, resident means what? When the control and management of affairs of HUF is wholly or partly situated in India during the relevant previous year, then it is treated as resident in India. That means when you can say that HUF is resident in India when it is decided on the basis of control and management. If control and management of affairs of the HUF is wholly, means wholly or partly situated in India, then you can say that he is resident during the relevant previous year. Now, if control and management is wholly situated outside India, then person is said to be a non-resident in India. Now here, what is control and management means? Controlling and directive power. Actual control and management, mere right to control and manage is not enough. Central control and management and not the carrying out day-to-day affairs. The place of central control and management is situated where the head and the seat and the directing power is situated. So that is why that is about control and management. So if it is, once again I am repeating, if control and management wholly or partly situated in India, then HUF is resident in India, otherwise that person is non-resident. And in that case we have to find out if it is outside India, totally outside India, control and management is totally outside India, then that HUF is considered as non-resident. So that you have to remember. Now non-resident HUF and HUF is non-resident in India if control and management of its affair is wholly outside, situated outside India. That already I had told you. Okay, when it is considered as non-resident, when control and management wholly situated outside India. Now, if person is resident, then you have to find out whether person is ROR or RNOR. So for that, when you can say that ROR, resident and ordinarily resident, then in that case you have to find out the if the karta means head of the family or manager of the resident HUF satisfy both additional condition under section 6 subsection 6. HUF is said to be an ordinarily resident. If the karta or manager of a resident HUF does not satisfy both the additional condition under section 6 subsection 6, then that person is said to be but not ordinarily resident. That means RNOR. Now, residential status of Karta of the for the previous year is not important, but his status for the preceding 10 years is important. So here, whenever you are finding the residential status of the Karta, you are not required to find out the residential status for the previous year. But what you have to do, you have to find out the residential status for the preceding 10 year is very important. Once again, what is the residential status of HUF? Residential status HUF would be resident if control and management of its affairs is situated wholly and partly in India. Non-resident if control and management of the affair is situated wholly outside India, it would become a non-resident in India. So here, two things are important. First one, control and management will decide whether person is resident or not. If it is only or partly in India, then resident. If only outside India, then non-resident. In short, what is control and management? Control and management means only main control of the business, main head of the business, main brain of the business is situated partly or wholly in India. Then you can say that that person, that HUF family is resident in India. Otherwise he is considered as non-resident. If person is resident, then you have to find out whether he is a resident and ordinarily resident in India, or resident but not ordinarily resident. For that you have to check two additional condition. And karta of resident HUF should be resident in at least previous year out of 10 previous year immediately preceding the relevant previous year. That is number one condition. And stay of karta during 7 previous year immediately preceding the relevant previous year should be more than 730 days or more than 730 days. So let us understand this concept with one example, so your concept gets clear. The business of HUF is transacted from Australia and all the policy decisions are taken there. That means all business is transacted from Australia and all the policy decisions are taken from there only. Mr. E, the Karta of the HUF, who was born in Kolkata, visit India during previous year 2020-23. Let us say previous year 2022-23. After 15 years, he comes to India on 1/4/2022 and leaves for Australia on 1/12/2022. Now determine the residential status of Mr. E and HUF for the assessment year 2023-24. So you have to find out the residential status of Mr. E also and residential status of HUF family. So now first we will find out residential status of Mr. E. During the previous year 2022-23, Mr. E has stayed in India for 245 days. That is how this 245 days comes. That is, he comes in April, on 1st April. So 30 days for April, and then April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. He goes to Australia on 1st of December. So that is why day of departure is to be considered. So if you make total of these days, you will get 245 days. Therefore, he is a resident. However, since he has come to India after 15 years, he does not satisfy the condition for being ordinarily resident. That means 2 out of 10 previous year, he does not satisfy first additional condition, and he is also not satisfying the second additional condition. That is, he must be present in India for 730 days during the 7 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. So that is why what is the residential status of Mr. E? So for residential status of Mr. E is resident but not ordinarily resident. So for the first of all, we will say that in first case residential status of Mr. E is resident. Then we have checked whether he is a resident, an ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinarily resident. So he is not satisfying any of the additional condition. So his residential status is not ROR, but his residential status is RNOR. Now check the whether what is the residential status of HUF. Since business of the HUF is transacted from Australia and policy decisions are taken there, it is assumed that the control and management is in Australia. That is, the control and management is wholly outside India. So therefore, the HUF is non-resident for previous year 2022-23. So that is why this way you can find out the residential status. Once again, in a summarized way, residential status of a HUF is the control and management of its affairs situated wholly or partly in India. If yes, then again ask question, then he will become resident. Then again ask, is Karta resident in India at least in any 2 previous year out of 10 previous year preceding the relevant previous year? That means if he is resident in India, and how to check resident in India? By checking basic condition under section 6 subsection 1. And what are those basic condition? He must be present in India for at least 182 days and 60 and 365 days during 4 years. So that you have to check whether he is a resident or not for first condition. And second condition, it is very simple. You have to make a number of days present during 7 years, 7 previous year immediately preceding the relevant previous year. And if it is 730 or more, then he is satisfying the second basic, second additional condition. So if he satisfy both the additional condition, then only his status is ROR. Otherwise, his status is RNOR. If he satisfy one or none of the additional condition, then in that case, residential status of the Karta is RNOR. But if Karta is not satisfying any of the control and management of the business is situated wholly outside India, straightway you can say that he is a non-resident in India. So again, if he is satisfying both the additional condition, then HUF is ROR. If he is satisfying none of the additional condition or one of the additional condition, then HUF is RNOR. So that's all about HUF. How to find out the residential status of HUF, and one example can be asked, a small example in the form of MCQ that we had taken. That MCQ can come for the same thing, how to find out the residential status of HUF, and one full 5 mark question can also be asked for the HUF theory. So thank you very much. That's all for today. Now next thing we will cover in the next video.